our biggest competitor is doing nothing.
Say it again. Say it again.
Say it again. Preach, brother.
Say it.
Strongest competitor is doing nothing.
Were you always making this kind of dough? And were you always doing small group personal training? Or were you doing some other stuff before?
Earthquake?
Is that an earthquake?
I don't know, man.
Wait, is this real?
Yeah, the whole house is shaking.
Wait, what?
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, John Franklin. I am joined today with Mateo Lopez, coming at you from across the street from me. And for those that don't know, they're like, what do John and Mateo do all day? And we just sit in Mateo's laundry room and we search the gym world for the most interesting guests. And something we've said about Mark Fisher for a very long time is something we heard from an old fitness guru, John Romanello. He used to say, Mark Fisher has the most profitable gym per square foot in the country. And I thought that was true until I met today's guest, who may have the most profitable gym per square foot in the entire country, but we'll see. So I want to welcome our friend, Haylin of Core Principles. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thanks for such a warm welcome.
Rumor on the street is you took home almost $300,000 last year. Is that true?
That rumor mill is pretty close to accurate, yes.
Yeah, we're starting. And how much money is in your bank account right now? No.
Yes. Yes.
And tell me, how big's your space?
575 square feet.
575 square feet.
Wait, really? That's literally smaller than my old New York apartment. That's insane.
Yeah, I do want to put some context to it because 500 square feet in and of itself in a box is weird and extremely small. Our space is shared with a fitness center of a corporate office building.
You're proving that it's not the size, it's how you use it. All right. So you don't need a preface how small it is because you're using it well. And that's all that matters.
Thank you.
All right. So what are you paying for rent?
Well, everything has a backstory, right? So I've been in this space for 9 years. When we first created this license agreement with the landlord, neither of us had ever done anything like this before. So we came to this weird agreement that I pay a certain dollar amount per client that I have, which is about $12 on a monthly basis per client. So I have the greatest rent expense in the history of gyms and pay about $1,000 a month in rent.
Wow.
Bringing the heat for the gym world. We appreciate that. Wow.
I mean,
is that why you haven't expanded? Because is that pretty hard to replicate? Getting a lease?
I mean, we're going to get into that. He's thinking about expanding, and every time I see him, I'm just like, stop what you're doing. Just settle. I literally at the happy hour when we saw Haylin last, I had a couple drinks and I was just begging him. I was just, don't do anything else. I was just like, sock money away. But we'll get into it. We don't want to give that away just yet, Teo. But the answer is maybe.
Who's to say?
First, tell us what you do, like what type of training and what you charge, because your positioning is very unique.
Yes, we are heavily invested in serving the 50 plus market. So we do small group personal training. For us, that's a 6-to-1 ratio. In-place model, which I can expand on, which is like everyone has their own dedicated 90-ish square feet to themselves, which we call a mini gym. They have their own mini gym. So we exclusively, this isn't just like we like 50 plus, we exclusively lean into this 50 plus membership. Secondarily, we are pretty clear. We are the gym for people that don't like the gym. So if we all of a sudden tomorrow said we're 60 plus, we may lose 10% of our membership. So most of our members are squarely in their 60s. Most of them historically have not exercised at all or never been in a gym. And if they were, they had a pretty shitty gym experience. And at this point in their life, they are not going to walk into a regular gym. So may sound a bit egotistical. It probably is, but like if they're not coming to us, most of our people are not going anywhere.
Look good, feel great, and get fit even if you hate the gym. Life
it's right
training,
there on the
personal
website.
training just for people ages 55 plus. That's what's up. I have a question. At what age in your journey do you start going to the gym in khakis? So I belong to a country club, and every time I go to the gym, there's a certain threshold where you're just like, I think one day when you're 80, you just wake up and it's like the khakis you put on in the morning, you do everything in those pants. So what age is that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can we start now?
Data digging. Well, you are in Florida, so you get a bit more liberty, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to say that window is somewhere between 65 to 67.
65, huh? I like how, who's this guy here that you put him in the uniform? He's like, he probably showed up in Lululemon on his first day and you're like, take that shit off, get in the back and put on a pair of khakis immediately. You got to dress like the client. You got any New Balance? You got any New Balance back there? Slap those on. Take off those Go Ruck shoes right now. Who is this man?
That's Mr. Ken Schwartz, one of my faves. Been hanging with us for going on 5 years now.
And did he bring the khakis? Did he come pre-programmed?
No, man, that's what he showed up in.
CEO potential. Promote this man right now. What does he do? Is he the CEO yet?
No, he's just a religious supporter.
Oh, he will be soon if he keeps that khaki energy in the 55 plus gym.
Were you always making this kind of dough, and were you always doing small group personal training? Or were you doing some other stuff before this all happened?
Love these. First, certainly was not always making this dough. Was slumming it and scraping by for an extended period of time. We did always do small group, but we did, I guess it was semi-private back in the day, where we did the personalized program for everybody till we realized that was not good for us and more work than it was worth, especially with our client base. And as you hear from lots of other people, clients really didn't care much about that. They cared about how they were being coached in the gym, how easy it was. And we've figured out quickly we can coach people a hell of a lot better and get them to nail things when we're working off our template system than trying to be cool. I know other people do it well and give everybody a personalized program so it feels a little bit different than everybody else. And I'm not sure you're going to ask, but we weren't always 50 plus either. So we've been doing this for 9 years, about 5-ish into it. Clients just started commenting that they enjoyed the fact that they were around other people similar to them. We're like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't even really occur to us. So then that became top of mind. And knowing that, I didn't feel confident about our ability to compete with every other gym just going after general pop. Frankly, I saw this as an opportunity for us to distinguish ourselves a little bit. And when you guys know, take a look at the landscape. Still, even now in 2024, there are few people, more than 8 years ago, but still very few people explicitly targeting this market.
So here's what I like about this. Boomers have legitimately half the US wealth. They have all the money, literally all of it. And on top of that, you're not very active on Instagram, neither you nor your gym, because I'm guessing your clientele.
But they're not either, John. They're not either. You don't have to worry about it.
Just all this, what most gym owners spend their time stressing about. You don't even play in that pond because they don't even know what Instagram is.
They still use the phone. You can just call them still. It's great.
How many invites a month do you get to play Bubble Shooter or some Chinese spyware Facebook game on your profile?
0.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got a tech savvy clientele. My question is, because you don't live your gym's not in a retirement community, right? Like you're in Stanford, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is like literally right outside of New York City, and it's known as like a place where a lot of young professionals live, right? Like when I think of Stanford, I think of like 30-year-old dude grinding it outside of college. That's kind of like the avatar that comes to mind.
Yeah. So are you looking? I mean, I would disagree. That's not 100% accurate. I could totally like it has that reputation, and it's also a city. So like downtown Stanford has city-like buildings, and where we live, the older folks here up in North Stanford, it's the burbs. And so it is a pretty solid mix of like single family people living in the woods and the downtown young professional scene. And certainly more recent development around the waterfront, which is very much like millennial-ish. So there is a pretty good mix in this city of 175K.
I've been there 2 times, and my brother-in-law lived there for 6 months. So I'm definitely trusting your opinion over mine, but that's what I'm basing, the taco place that he took me to, very young. Okay, so you're saying, and obviously you don't need that many people at a 500 square foot gym. Like what do you cap out at? Like when are you like run out of space?
Yeah, we continue to play with this number. I think our like cap out now, I'm projecting it around 120 members.
Okay.
Wow. And can I just like circle back for a moment? Because I think one of the takeaways here from everything you just said, and maybe you can expand on it a little bit, is one, there's money to be made in niching down, which it sounds like you, after, 7 years, you decided to do, 8 years, 9 years, you decided to start doing. And then 2, there's a lot of money to be made by simplifying. You had, from what it sounds like, more offerings. You were offering it to more different types of people. And once you niche down and then also just simplified your offerings, it sounds like it simplified your operation, allowed you to focus and start to make some more money. What were some other things you cut out and simplified on the offering side that you think helped you grow your business?
Yeah, I love that. I'll start with saying I am super proud of the fact that by some decisions and a good dose of luck, we do one thing: small group personal training. That is it. We will do a tiny bit of one-on-one personal training with the specific intent of getting those people ramped up so that they can join small group. So no one does one-on-one long-term. And we have a nutrition coach who's sort of 1099 contracted, not even on staff, doesn't live in Connecticut. And that is all we do. So we got good at having one thing on the menu and delivering that one thing, which by default is what you're saying. We get to practice that one thing. So it allows us to just continually dial it in. We've created systems around this, which is, I don't know, something that I just, for some strange reason, actually like. Like I enjoy this idea of creating a system and consistently figuring out how we can simplify this system. So to answer your question, we, of course, at one point, we tried to pull group off in 575 square feet. We didn't always have this in-place model. So we used the entirety of the fitness center at one point, which was like 1,000-ish square feet, which created some other issues because there are people who work in our building who can use the fitness center. So we created some like conflict, some friction points by having our members trying to use the same equipment as general use members in the fitness center, which also ultimately led to the decision of like, all right, we're just going to take up a little bit less than 600 square feet. We're going to get this in-place model and we're just going to nail it.
And was it scary when you were like, I'm going to take my personal training, something that generates a lot of revenue, and I'm just not going to do that anymore?
Yes. I've forgotten about it at this point, as we often do. But when I made that decision to like, okay, we're going to I think it was 10K a month in one-on-one personal training and put all of our time and attention into small group. Of course, those next couple months, you're like, what the fuck? Why did we do this? And in hindsight, being able to look at it 4-ish years ago now, like absolutely the wisest decision we could have made.
So it sounds like the short answer to your question, Matteo, is the same answer I would have guessed for any gym owner who's been in this for a decade. He's made every mistake you could possibly make.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured it
100%.
out by hacking through the jungle.
Yeah. I'll add to that. Look, so I didn't have a long history in training before I started the business. I had what I call another life, a somewhat accomplished career in urban planning. I didn't want to be in the office for the rest of my life. I had a weird juxtaposition of like doing planning work for the private sector. They didn't have any work for me, but they continued to pay me. So I sent myself back to school to become a personal trainer. I got a job in Greenwich, Connecticut. I started working for a couple years, and like most trainers, I can do this better than the people I work for. I opened up a business. I had no idea whatsoever how to run a business. I knew how to train. And so what I leaned into, like most trainers, is how do I acquire more technical knowledge and continue to ignore numbers and sales and marketing and systems, which led to me stumbling along and not knowing if I was ever going to make it work, but fear of failure continued to propel me ahead a bit. Finally, Mark Fisher presented his wonderful face a couple of years into it, and I was able to say, Savior, please help me and guide me.
You were from the science-based community.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Look, I was not like I spent years and years and years of studying the science. I followed Mike Boyle and a few other people. I was able to flesh out who I thought was top of the industry when I started and followed those people religiously and just stole their shit.
Is there anything to being in the corporate office park? Like that was the thing. We've talked to a couple people who sublet or like rent a part of the gym during the day. And I always love this model because it's just such a low risk way to start.
Yeah.
What type of an office park does that like? Do you have a bunch of 60-plus-year-old people in there where you can hang out and find clients? Like, was that a key to your success? Just kind of like hanging out by the racquetball court, being like, yo, you should try some of this training? Or do you think it would have worked in any other place? Like, is there any advantage to that aside from lower cost, lower risk in the beginning?
Yeah, certainly lower cost, lower risk. Interestingly, in terms of attracting clients, it has not turned out to be beneficial at all. We've learned, being there for 9 years now, two things come up. Many people consider their office their place of work, and they also do not want to work out there. So they want to do their work and fly out. And secondarily, we realized that there was some fear about like C-level people being in the gym or locker room at the same time as their underlings and vice versa. So people didn't want to have that like higher level or lower level people interacting. So they just decided they didn't even want to risk it. So they didn't come to the gym at all. Some of the benefits are that the amenities are absolutely beautiful. Like it's a A-class building. So the bathrooms, the locker rooms are, we'll call them Equinox-ish level quality. Not something I ever would have paid to outfit.
Really?
Yeah.
When I think like office park gym, I do not think that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So like super high class insurance, like not bottom of the barrel office space, like high level A-class office space, shuttles, cafeteria, game room, lounge area. So some quality stuff. Some of the other benefits that come along with that, our members park in a parking garage, so always covered, don't have to worry about weather, snow, winter. There's a security guard in the parking garage that opens up the door and escorts them into the gym studio. So they get a bit more VIP experience.
And you get to offer that for $1,000 a month or whatever it is. That's pretty next level, pretty awesome, pretty sweet.
I don't see any photos of that in the GMB. You should get some of those in there, man.
Yeah, tell me what you mean.
Show off those fancy locker rooms and amenities in the photos. Well, I guess that's my question. If someone trains with you, they can access all those, right?
Yeah. And most people don't. Again, back to what you said before, it's like our demographic. They got time. They live a couple miles away. Like they're cruising over from home, getting their workout in and going back home.
Still, show some photos of that stuff, man. That sounds fancy. That sounds lush. All right. I feel like we're in a good spot here. What are you charging?
So I'll take you through our whole process. We get people started with a low barrier offer, which is 3 weeks with us. So 21 days, 6 personal training sessions. The very first two for us are what we call onboarding sessions. They're effectively one-on-ones, so we can figure out where these lovely individuals are at. Because again, median age here, now closer to 65. We've got plenty of people with replaced knees, replaced hips, again, not exercised in 4 decades. So those first couple onboarding sessions lets us really figure out where they're at and just get them comfortable with some of the most basic and foundational movements. So everybody starts those 6 personal training sessions, 2 of which are one-on-one for $99. No obligation to continue on. We do the Netflix close, so it automatically rolls into membership. About 85% of our members do 2 days a week, which we charge $109 a week for.
2 days a week, 55 a session.
Yeah, $54.50. Yeah, and 3 days a week we don't discount. We keep it at $159.
What's the take rate from the LBO into the membership?
So all of 2023, we averaged 79% conversion from the 3-week trial into membership.
And I feel like boomers don't I guess Connecticut, maybe you got a bunch coming to Florida. Is there like a seasonality element, or are you pretty packed up the whole year round?
We do have some seasonal stuff. There are definitely a crop of people who do the Florida thing in the winter. And again, back to what we said before, people have time on their hands. We definitely have people who take extended freezes and longer trips. We definitely have people, I suspect, more than the typical gym, who are out for longer periods of time with injury-related crap, like pre-existing stuff, finally time to get my hip done, finally time to get my knee done. So those can be a bit of a pain in the ass. We have a whole handful of extended freezes.
I want to do, Teo, let's open a small group personal training gym for people 55 plus only in the winter.
Here?
It's only open 4 months out of the year.
SoulCycle does that in the used to do that in the Hamptons. It was just for the summer. They had
exact same
running,
clientele.
And then once it was gone, a lot of businesses in Montauk literally just close.
Devin Gage, Jeff Shoemaker, Fit Town Boys, hit us up. We want that sublet.
Yeah.
Haylin, you're going to give us that franchise?
I'm actually, I'm into it.
I'm into it. My in-laws are in Palm Beach Gardens, so we're partly neighbors.
We are definitely partly neighbors. I have a question. So did you always do this kind of offer? Or okay, I'm skipping ahead because I've listened to some other podcasts. So you used to offer contracts. Now you don't. Did that help in the sales process at all? What were some changes that you made as you kind of evolved over the 9 years to the sales process and allowing you to close at 79% from your intro offer?
First, for whatever reason, I guess thick-headed, resisted logic, we did not do a low barrier offer. We did not do a trial for years. I just banged my head against the wall and tried to sell people directly into 3 or 12-month memberships. And then I think I got more wise and again, specifically thought about the clientele that we work with. My objective is to make it as easy as possible for people to get started. One thing that we both learned in Austin, I heard you guys both mention it on the most recent podcast with the folks from across the pond, is that our biggest competitor is doing nothing.
Say it again. Say it again.
Say it again. Preach, brother.
Say it.
Strongest competitor is doing nothing. And so my objective then was to make getting started as easy as possible. So that's why we offer this no obligation, what we call just dip your toes in the water for 3 weeks. You're either at the end of 3 weeks and 6 sessions going to open up your arms and say, I love this. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Or you'll say, hey, I got 6 personal training sessions under my belt. I'm going to figure out what's next. All in for $99, which we'll even offer a money back guarantee on. The other piece, the reason, I didn't really think about this in the beginning, but a huge benefit, it makes the sales process easier. So in my attempt to continue to replace myself, the skill level of replacing myself from a sales perspective is easy. It's easy to sell someone into a $99 trial. You almost feel the goal, a la Hormozy, is to get people to feel kind of foolish for not doing it. It feels stupid to say no to 6 personal training sessions for $99, which is completely the goal. And we feel confident enough about our product at this point that we can get that 79% conversion out of the 3-week trial into membership. And I think what it creates additional comfort is having the no contracts. Everything is literally week to week. And the way we phrase it is like, if you ever decide you want to break up with us, all you need is 28 days notice.
It definitely seems to be still like a point of contention, like contracts versus no contracts, commitments versus no commitments, like giving discounts for locking them in for longer. I was working with a client recently. It's like 20 different offerings, and each offering had like 5 different billing plan options. So it's like 100 different options you have to remember, and trying to change the rate per class based on how many you buy in bulk. And it does seem really complicated, as you said, to teach your sales rep to sell. And it's complicated for your prospect to understand. And yeah, I think you said it best, like you want to make it easy for them. And I think a lot of people still lose sight of that goal.
Teo and I gave a talk. I think this would have been like in 2017. And this was like during a time when a lot of gyms in our corner of the world were like, offer as many services as humanly possible, like 1 yoga class, 1 Olympic lifting class, 1 kids class, 1 silver fox
of
class.
Revenue.
Yeah.
And we're like, guys, you have like the menu of the Cheesecake Factory, but you don't have the back office to support, a menu that's as thick as the Bible. And then we brought this up and we showed them my favorite menu, perhaps in the entire world, which is that in and out menu. It's really, really simple. It's like ordering as easy as 1, 2, 3. And it's just a function of whether you want cheese or no cheese or 1 or 2 patties. That's it. And there's something to that. There's something to just making it really easy for you, making it really easy for your team, making it really easy for your members. Just see that being a lot more scalable than your boy with 150 membership options. No disrespect, though. You could be a trillionaire. It just sounds very hard to. It just sounds very hard to train and manage and keep track of all that. But luckily, there's a solution. Go ahead, Teo. Go ahead. What's the solution?
Well, if you do have to create 100 different package options and you're limited by your current provider, go ahead and check out Kilo. Kilo is a gym management solution and software that helps gym owners make more money. If you want to have just 1 membership offering or 100, you can build that with us, with Kilo. Getting started is easy. Just go to usekilo.com and book your call today. Now back to you, John.
And like that guy, Teo will just do it all for you. He's just going to get on the phone with you and set every single one of them up. It's called the Gym World VIP package. Request that when you call in. Glove. Be sure to ask for the Teo white glove the tucked in with Teo white glove special.
Yep.
They'll know where to send you. We're going to take care of you.
That one is
Haylin, you look like you were going to say something.
Though. That one is expensive.
Yeah, it's 1 year Kilo.
Yes. There is something that maybe you guys have heard this before. There's something a little scary in the simplicity, though, right? There's a fear of making it so simple. I suspect part of that is, and I experienced this, is like you're potentially leaving a lot of shit on the table. Same thing I experienced when I decided to go all in on 50 plus. People's first reaction is, well, like, why would you leave all the 40-year-old, 30, even 40-year-olds off the table? Which is a logical thought. But now that I have a bit more wisdom, I can articulate, like, the more specifically, as you guys know, we can talk to people and like understand them. It's a lot easier to have that real, genuine, authentic conversation. Like, I know pretty damn well at this point what most of these 65-year-old women are experiencing and how they feel. In my conversations, I just have to shut up because I can finish their story for them at this point. But of course, everybody wants to tell their story and I want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, the I think a lot of it stems from when you start your gym, you're doing everything. Like it's very rare that you just like open the door and it's a runaway success. The people who seem to make it in this business all have like a dark period that they can reference back to, and where their health was bad, their life was bad, their finances were bad, and they just kind of like grinded it out. And like it's a war of attrition in this industry because it's not the easiest business you can do. And so if you came up through that grind and it's just like brute force is the way you made your business work in the beginning, like a lot of people, when they get to your level or they're like they actually become super successful, they still feel the need to just be busy all the time, to do stuff all the time, because that's what they associate with success. But like what I've found after, hanging out with a lot of people who, get to that level, they'll do that. They'll screw up their life again. They'll just get in their own way. And then they learn to just like simplify and go back. And there's a reason why all the successful gym world guests who are grizzled veterans and have been in the industry for 10 years come on here and say, no, man, you want to niche down. You want to have incredibly small positioning and you want to have an incredibly simple offering. And that's just because somehow you magically make more money and your business is easier to run. And it feels very counterintuitive, especially if you just grinded it up in this industry. But, you're only the 700th person to say that. And I do think there's something to it.
People don't need, what is it? Education. They need reminding, John. They need reminding of the simple lessons.
I don't think that's the saying, but I think I get it. I get it.
I know I forgot it, but I know the reminding part's the important part. So just remember, that's it.
So speaking of shooting yourself in the foot, you're thinking of expanding, right?
No. Well, yes and no. This what we'll call dilemma or deliberation has been going on for close to a year now. Do we expand? Do we open a second location and keep this one? Or do we just close this one and move to a bigger location? We've gone back and forth.
And while you've been thinking about that, you've just been like, oh, so much money building in my bank account.
I also realized there are people who listen only. John and I were just shaking our heads. We didn't say anything. We were just both shaking our heads feverishly. Don't do that. Anyway, keep going, Haylin. Let's talk it out.
Let's talk it out. Well, you'll both be relieved to know in our most recent quarterly planning meeting, I've liberated myself. I freed myself. We are not thinking about second location or expanding into a new location any longer. We are figuring out how we can absolutely max out the current studio and like be popping at the gills where we're losing people because they're on wait lists. That is the goal. We're going to continue to fill it out. I think that magic number for us is still around 120 people, right around there. And then we'll figure out then we can get a bit more experimental with other ways we can create a little bit of additional revenue, whether that's put any effort into the nutrition stuff that we don't put in now, maybe a few special programs for existing members. We'll have the flexibility to run a few experiments. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but that's how we can complicate things without risking the downside.
I do love this model though, and I do think there's something to it. On the flip side, which is I'm sure where your head's at. Like this is fairly unique. I don't know a lot of people that have the same positioning that are offering the same service. And maybe that's just because I'm in a weird corner of the universe, but I try my best to put myself out there and find out what's being offered. So I do love this positioning. I do love the way you're running it. I do love the simplicity of it. So I definitely think this could work in a lot of different places. Just, you got a good thing going.
I don't know if we're having an earthquake.
Is that an earthquake?
I don't know, man.
Wait, is this real?
Yeah, the whole house is shaking.
Wait, what?
Dude, this is incredible. This is live.
I didn't know you had earthquakes in Connecticut.
Dude, what is going on?
Wait, it's still going.
Dude, is that real? I thought he kicked his
Yeah,
desk.
me
Like
too.
when I kick him, like if I'm going like this,
I have been in an earthquake before in Costa Rica, and that felt eerily similar.
I mean, no, it looked like one.
Teo and I have both lived in Southern California, so we both lived through earthquakes that definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I got the heart rate up.
Wow, we're going to have to look that up. That's crazy. All right.
All right, still standing.
The earthquake in 93, a VCR fell on my head. So that may explain where we are today, why I'm here. Yeah. Provide a little bit of background info.
Latest earthquake.
I don't know if they're going to be that fast, but
what magnitude would you say that is, Mateo?
that looked like a fucking.
That didn't look like a small.
No, that looked like a medium size, like a. What is it, out of 10? Like a 6.5?
There's a ton in, like, there are a lot in Connecticut, but they're all like 0.8, 1.3, 1.1, 1.4, 1.6. But that definitely did not seem
No, it
like
is
a baby
out of.
earthquake.
I think it is out of 10. It is out of 10.
Richter scale.
Okay, so there's a bunch of baby earthquakes. That looked like the real one.
That was for real.
Whoa.
I mean, you could get like more waterfront property.
Okay,
in
so it
Stanford,
says two usually not felt but can be recorded. 3 is minor. 2.5 to 4.5 often felt but only minor damage. Yeah, so that was like a 3 or 4, I think.
That was some shaking.
We'll be sure to update the listeners.
Cool.
I forgot what we were saying, but
Me too.
It wasn't as important as the earthquake of Stamford, Connecticut, the great earthquake of April 5th in Stamford, Connecticut. I just want to know, we were talking about expansion, and I said there's something to this model. It could work in a lot of different places. You're obviously pretty quiet on social media, but you've just started to do, a couple different podcasts. Like, have people reached out to you to be like, teach me your ways? Like, that's one way that I think this could potentially work with pretty low risk. Like, are you one of the only people doing this, or do you know of a lot of other people like you in the same niche offering the same kind of like high ticket small group personal training?
I don't know of many others, but it wouldn't be fair to say I'm like out there rooting around looking for these people. Again, I know very few that are explicitly saying 50 plus. I know there are a few people that work with 50 plus, but if you're talking about like 50 plus in place model where we're really going after these people we're really going after people that no other gym is going after, because we want people who don't like the gym and don't go to the gym. So I don't know many others like that. And
if people started to hit you up?
No. I mean, I stay pretty quiet, man.
You're hard to get in touch with. I had to hunt down your cell phone number to get a response. So, that's that 60 plus advantage. You don't have to be on social media at all. You're just hanging out, being present, living in the moment, raising your kids. Sounds nice.
I do love all that. I mean, I recently, so November, I had a general manager start. So we're what the hell month are we in? April. So we're five full months in. So it's great. A lot of this is my first attempt at bringing a general manager on. This has been owner operated for 8.5 years. And so a lot of the things that we suspected, like having a simple model, simple sales, with just the fortunate coincidence that I enjoy making systems and SOPs. I think we're doing Colleen is doing a really good job, having never been a general manager before. She was a team leader at Orange Theory, but not a general manager. And like, if I give myself a small pat on the back, the systems that we created and the simplicity has allowed her to step in and 5 months into it, be really nailing the job.
What's interesting about your demographic is, particularly older boomers, is they're still on Facebook. So what is your marketing strategy for generating new leads?
It is simple. We lean into paid Facebook advertising heavily. 90 plus percentage of our leads come from paid Facebook advertising, which again probably connects to why it's so important for us to have a dialed in follow-up system and get on the phone and actually call, because if we're not doing that, we don't have leads from any other source and we're not getting fresh faces in the door. I say that, and yes, there are opportunities for us to improve our organic lead generation, and certainly I would love to see more referrals generated, and that is frankly an opportunity for us and something that we've struggled with, but thankfully the good old book has continued to provide us leads when we give them money.
What are you spending on ads?
Yeah, so we fluctuate between 25 a day and 37.50.
And what does a lead cost you?
You know what? I don't know at the moment.
So it looks like you got one ad you are running here. This is the primary here. It says personal training, Stanford area ladies over 50, ready for a gym that builds you up instead of beats you up. Okay, 21-day risk-free. Okay, so it sounds like you're doing the learn more. Sounds like you're pushing your LBO and you want people to click the learn more button. I'm guessing this is a lead ad.
Yep.
And then that's when your 5-minute phone comes right in. Boop.
You got it, my friend. That's it. We just dialed.
And so how many people are you getting from this this campaign? It sounds like you're spending around $1,000 a month. How many members is that good for?
Let's see. So weekly average is about 14 leads per week from Facebook. Let's see. We're doing 10% of total leads come in, sign up for a trial.
So you're getting 1 to 2 a week from that 1,000 of the LBOs.
Yeah, our target is 3, so we do usually end up doing a little bit better than that.
So let's say it's 2 a week. That gives you 8 a month. You said you convert 80%, so 8 times 0.8. So you're getting about 6 new members from that. At a 400 price point, 2,400, it's a good return.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being more than 400.
Sure, once you factor in all the costs associated with running the ads. And
sorry, I thought you were saying average monthly pay per member. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Well, your ad costs as well, right? So we know you work with an agency, and that obviously isn't free. And then you have your training costs associated with delivering the sessions. And so, but still, if you're just looking on raw ad spend, what you're getting out of that, it's a pretty juicy number. And I'm guessing people stick around for a long time, right? It's not like they're leaving you to go to Planet Fitness.
No. Well, yeah, that's the thing. People are going nowhere else. There's nowhere else to go. I mean, fortunately for us, there's really nowhere else to go around us. Again, as we said, our biggest competitor is doing nothing. Some people will go back to doing nothing. But there is a bit of a challenge, again, because of our clientele, the people that we work with. It does take a little bit longer to get buy-in, right? Don't forget, we're fighting back in some cases against 30 years of inactivity.
Right, that's decades of not doing the gym.
Yes.
Decades of, yeah, that's true. It's decades. And older people are a little bit more stubborn. I don't like to generalize, but it is hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So yes, I get the buy-in part is probably very real.
A bit more fragile. I can't tell you how often the concerns about am I hurt? No, you moved for the first time in 30 years.
Right. Did I hurt something? Or no, you're just a little sore now.
Yeah.
It's burning in your muscle.
I mean it in the most loving way, but it's truly challenging for people to distinguish pain from the discomfort that comes from challenging your body a little bit.
Dude, I've been working out my whole life, and in my late 30s, I'm already like that. I had a back injury last year, so now every time I'm just oh, wow, is my hamstring gone?
Yeah, that is a great point. I didn't think of that. Right. Yeah, that's probably very real.
Yeah.
What is the staff breakdown? And let's say you get to that 120 number. Will you need to add any additional bodies to fulfill that?
Yeah, so we've got 2 full-time coaches and Colleen. The full-time morning coach roughly does a 6 a.m. to noon or 7 a.m. to 1. And then the afternoon coach does like a 4:30 to 7:30 in our Saturdays, and does a few extra of those onboarding sessions that I mentioned that are effectively our one-on-ones. So that's it. It's 2 full-time coaches on salary, 1 GM, and then I do just the marketing stuff. I've slowly been decreasing my sales calls, lead follow-up calls. And we can get into speed to lead again, because I know you guys talked about that. And
I wanted to ask that next.
I will double down on that shit hard.
We love speed to lead here.
And that's it. Pretty simple.
That sounds simple. That sounds amazing. You brought it up, which is what I did want to ask before we wrapped up. Yes. Tell me about the lessons learned on the sales, marketing, and specifically lead nurture side of things over your 9-year journey here.
Yeah. This is probably the second hardest lesson to learn, that you actually have to follow up with people when they raise their hands. And so, well, first thing I'll say, the last 3-ish years, I've heavily invested in sales. Like, I've made that my baby, to learn how to do sales well and not just be a hack at sales, but like study sales and take what I think is the best stuff from Hormozy, some Jeremy Minor stuff, and just learning how to do sales and have conversations. So much of that also comes from like the work we do with Keeler, and learning how to actually have conversations with people and not just be an asshole.
Yeah. What is that curriculum for you? Is it like, what percentage is it reading books? What percentage of it is it role playing? And then what percentage of it has been just doing it live?
I think the percentages have shifted over time. I mean, I got a tons of reps under my belt when I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Then I dug into the learning, paid for some courses from like Eli Wild, which you guys may know as a Tony Robbins, big salesperson back in the day. So I've invested in some courses, took bits and pieces from a variety of people, and tried to make my own little recipe of what works for my people. But the highlights here are, we've learned we've got to follow up. We've created a pretty robust auto follow-up system through texts and emails. The speed to lead thing is not something that we've always approached diligently. I'm like, yeah, we'll get to them. Like, we've been consistent with our calls. We'll call for 7-ish days in a row, but only in legitimately, somewhat maybe embarrassed to admit this, but like in the last 2 months is when we've just started leaning into our primary objective is to call within 5 minutes. We are tracking how many of our leads right now we are calling within 5 minutes and seeing what kind of difference that makes. And too early to genuinely say, but a few weeks of data here shows hands down that putting the effort into calling within 5 minutes and trying to make 2, if not 3 calls a day for those first 3 days, it is an absolute game changer.
Wow. So the thing I said in my talk, interesting. So weird.
Yeah. And I heard you say you got some pushback from that, which is interesting. And
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear why people push back. And
the pushback was from the millennials don't answer their phone. And I know for you with your older demographic, yeah, they're definitely still answering the phone. So that was, I think, most of the pushback was like, yeah, people aren't picking up their phone. They're screening their calls. They're texting and responding there a bit more. But yeah, the pushback was mainly like people aren't picking up their phones.
Haylin, doesn't matter if an earthquake rips your house in half, because you're going to be expanding that thing anyway, just based off of what I'm hearing come out of your mouth. You're going to have to you're going to be putting a huge extension anyway. So they're just doing you a favor. Don't worry about those natural disasters. Don't worry about buying on the fault line, my guy.
We're saving on demo costs.
You got the gift. You've learned the lessons. You're just on the rocket ship right now. I wish I could buy stock.
Oh, you're too kind. To go back to something you said a little while ago, John, though, like, yeah, I don't have people reaching out, which is fine, but I am genuinely happy to talk about what we do. I look at it this way. So many people have helped me along the way when I started asking questions. And like, if I can have an opportunity to reciprocate and share with people, I'm happy to be fully transparent about what we do, what numbers look like, what has worked, what absolutely has not worked. There's more of those stories for sure. But look, I don't think there's any secrets here. I'm happy to share whatever the hell we do. I don't think there's nothing magical. Sticking with the basics, continuing to get more and more simple. And one of the things that, as much as I have low risk tolerance, I'm also willing to make changes and like just wholesale change how we're doing things.
So one of the things that made our gyms very difficult to run, I started in Hoboken, which is probably fairly similar to the younger demographic you talked about in Stanford, right? Like primarily a like large commuter town.
Yeah.
So our first class started at like 5 a.m. and our last class was like 8 p.m. So that gym was open all day. I'm like a workout at the ass crack of like 9:30 guy these days. And when I go to the gym, it is like all your target client. So like, what are your class times? Because I don't imagine there's a lot of like 70-year-olds banging, like clanging. I hope they're not banging. Maybe they're banging. I don't know. After they work out with you, maybe they're banging, clanging and banging at 8 p.m. or 5 a.m. You know, like what are your class times look like? What are the most popular ones?
Sure. We do get rolling at 6 a.m. 2 days a week. The rest of the weekdays are 7. There are some shifts, some seasonal shifts to our times. But right now, as we move out of winter into springish here, busiest times by far are 8, 9, and 10. High noon crushes, like high noon across the board is one of our busiest sessions. And then we do 4:30, 5:30, and 6:30. So I got a gap from 1 p.m. to 4:30.
So it's like 12 hours basically, right? Like you're rocking and roll, like maybe a little more, a couple days a week.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
And then Saturday morning, we do a 8, 9, and 10 right now, and that's it. And nothing on Sunday.
We tried so hard to get that 9 and 10 a.m. spots during the week popping off, and it just never happened for us. Not a lot of 60-year-olds in the Lower East Side. So it was a toughie.
I have to imagine like the change of how people are working and working at home makes it somewhat easier now to fill a 9 and 10. Some people still have more inherent flexibility than they did years ago.
You're in the weird, like you work out during the 9 to 5 day, Teo. What's the vibe at your classes when you go?
It's all moms. And yeah, the 5:30 is still pretty popular. Like the PM when I go is definitely a little more popular than my 8:45. But yeah, it just depends. Sometimes there's already been some snowbirds who have left. So I'm feeling for my guy Steven, because there's already some snowbirds that have left. So my class has gotten even smaller. But yeah, like this morning it was just me and one other person.
Haylin and Steven should just reciprocity agreement. You know, they like, Haylin throws Steven a couple bones in the summertime and then vice versa. And they just kind of like, they hedge. It's like they're just like hedging their costs there. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Let's chat, Steven.
Cool, man. What are the nuggets of wisdom, man? This has been fun. What else do you have to impart on the gym world? Things that made a big difference to your business.
What's made a big difference? Early on, the swings came from getting the accountability from joining Business for Unicorns.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't talk about mentorship that much, but I feel like that there's always that piece, right, on someone's journey.
Huge for me, man. Like, I can't highlight that enough. I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing before I joined Mark and Michael. And just like that perpetual sense of overwhelm, because I was trying to do a million different things, but didn't really know what to focus on, led to that continued state of overwhelm. And for all those same reasons, I wasn't making any progress. So there was like nearing a breaking point, and Mark stepped in but he offered this opportunity. I fell into his network somehow and joined Business for Unicorns. And then leveled it up a little bit more. You guys know Ben Pickard, one of the coaches. He and I about 4.5 years ago started working independently. So it's sort of separate from Business for Unicorns. And he serves as a business advisor, and he's tied into the business. And so he gets, not as a partner, but he gets paid out on a piece of revenue. So he's incented to help me do what I said I was going to do and help pull some levers so that he can personally benefit from how the biz does.
So Ben Kicker getting
an advisory role.
Getting little board seats on the side. Wow, I didn't even know that was an option. Hey, Jim Taro and I are available for any board seat roles.
Oh, yeah. I would love to join a board seat at any of these small group personal training gyms, semi-privates. Yeah. I'm big on joining the board.
Yeah. So if you guys need qualified advisors, we're ready. We're ready.
Super, super excited to join the board. Anyway.
Comes with your first 3 months of Kilo free included in the advisory deal.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Now we're starting to sound
and
foolish.
And the tucked in with Teo white glove onboarding package, of course.
Tuck it.
Well.
So that accountability was huge, and just some clarity on what to focus on. And the other big piece is creating some metrics that we're going to track, and then using those metrics to make future decisions off of. I will admit, was someone who ignored numbers for so long just because I didn't really want to see what they said, because they were never encouraging. They were just discouraging.
Right.
But once we finally started tracking some things, we were able to see what was working, what wasn't working, and able to lean into the things that were working. And also, perhaps most powerful was that the numbers I was now tracking provided a counterbalance to the thoughts and feelings I had in my head about how the business was actually going. And I could look at the numbers and be like, oh, it's not actually a shit show. We're doing okay, which was wonderful. It was just a sense of relief instead of always, this is terrible, this isn't working, we're going the wrong direction. We had some actual numbers to offset those feelings.
We do a decent job of tracking our numbers at Kilo, but I still feel awful all the time. Like that feeling definitely never went away from me. So I just constantly am in fear that it's all just going to explode and go away the next day. So that might be unique to you. How do you feel? No,
it's just because we left the 500 square foot space. We just got to go back in the box. We just got to go back.
Gym World is just a long con to get out of Kilo and just open up a gym again. Tan and I live our perfect day of just right where we started. Just full circle, buying Haylin's gym, buying Core Principles in Stamford, Connecticut.
Come on. Back to the snow.
Back to the roots. I know you got business to take care of. I know you have a hard stop because we're getting into that busy time for your gym, which is the middle of the day. You're not really a big social guy. Where do people go if they're like, yeah, dude, I got some questions to ask you? How do they call you? You want them to text you? What do you fill out the form on your website? What's the best way?
Email is a good starting place. I mean, you can take a shot by sending a Facebook message and a Instagram DM. I may discover it once every couple of weeks, but email is absolutely the best way to track me down.
Are you going to share what it is, or are you going to make them work? You're going to make them work for it.
You got to find email. No, Haylin at coreprinciplespt.com.
All right, this has been awesome, man. Gym World, I hope you had a great time, because Haylin suffered through an earthquake to bring this heat for you. He almost lost his home there to help you, to give you that alpha, to give you that edge over your competition. So the least you can do is like, subscribe, leave a comment, and use Kilo, of course. And that's it for this week. We're going to miss you, but you're enough.
But we'll be back next week.
You're enough, gym owner. You're enough. Goodbye.